and this dopamine hit me like a fucking Mack truck, man. You know that feeling online when you post something and it's of no consequence. You don't even think about it, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's got like 20 likes, 50 likes, 72 likes, and you're like, oh shit, here we go again. And maybe that's just me, but as someone who's been trying to stand out online for years, it it got me going down a rabbit hole, and that's what I want to talk about in this recording. I've been thinking I should do another one of these updates as promised. I'm back with the second one of this year, and it's April. If you don't know me, my name is Keith Hayden. I'm the digital novelist. As far as I know, I'm the only one. And I am a former indie novelist who is now semi demoted myself to guy who writes books because, like a lot of people who are trying to stand out today, a lot of creators, it's hard out there. It's hard to get noticed. It's expensive. It's time expensive. Actually, I shouldn't say it's expensive. It's cheaper than ever to put your stuff out there. It's just expensive time wise or money wise to actually get it seen. Um, and maybe you know something that I'm talking about. But in this one, I just want to talk about how it's so easy these days to get just sidetracked by, and go in these wah, and get distracted from what you want to be doing and start playing somebody else's game that maybe it's not for you. So a couple weeks ago, I watched this video by the guy's channel. It's called Barry's Economics, and he did a deep dive, a very cynical type of deep dive into another podcast that I enjoy. Maybe you've heard of it. It's pretty popular. It's called Diary of a CEO. It's run by a guy named Stephen Bartlett. Super amazingly popular podcast, and I think it's a pretty good podcast. I don't really have anything against the podcast, but I love these days. There's so much derivative shit online, stuff that's just people basically reposting the same takes, the same ideas, and it's hard to find original thought sometimes. At least it can be. You have to sift through the AI stuff and get through the hype bluster and the cynical takes to find like really novel ideas. And I felt like this Barry's Economics. I often select random YouTube videos to watch just to one change up my algorithm and not get caught watching the same stuff, because that's what happens these days. You watch one thing, YouTube's like, oh, you like that, let me give you more of that, let me give you more. I don't like that. So it helps with discovery. It helps find like hidden gems, and I felt like this is one of them that I probably would have never found if I hadn't kind of randomly selected it. So if you want to watch the video, it's a pretty long video. Maybe it's like 25-30 minutes. But essentially, it's a counterpoint to podcasts like The Diary of a CEO that brings on polished guests, and Barry really does his research. I think, and he's pretty funny too. In a satirical way, he brings his own take to this popular genre. The Diary of a CEOs, the Lex Friedmans. There's a lot of these young guy led podcasts that are huge, and I kind of looked into the phenomenon, and it's pretty amazing that none of these guys are a day over 40 or maybe even 35, and they are getting huge CEOs, politicians, business people, scientists to come on their podcast to access their audience of millions. It's a truly modern phenomenon enabled by the internet. It's pretty amazing to see. But Barry kind of goes after this, and his, summing up the whole video is essentially that these podcasts kind of sell this illusion of success, of hustle, of grind, that these people basically are the people who have made it, and they've made it because they tend to be not only good in their field, but they're the best at talking about how good they are in their field. They're the best at boiling down their ideas into a single focus, which becomes very marketable and becomes very recognizable as a brand, especially in the internet algorithm age. So it makes them easy to classify, easy to digest, easy to listen to. And so a lot of people aspire to optimize themselves, get the perfect morning routine, that type of thing. And he has a lot of good research to go after his take, even though it is quite satirical and cynical at times. But it was good. I found it to be an interesting video. But I'm not here to really talk about the video. The video got me thinking about how, for many years, as a novelist, as someone who was trying to get noticed online for my fiction, I spent years in the guru grind, following huge, household names, the Alex Hormozis, the Nicholas Coles. Maybe you've heard of some of these people. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. But these are people who, in that phase of the internet, the late 2010s, early 2020s, probably, into COVID, through COVID too, they were quite popular. And I followed all this stuff because, I was new and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was like, okay, they seem to have figured something out. They're making money, they've got an audience, and I want a cut of that, like a lot of people. And then about 5 or 6 months ago, after my third novel dropped, I just lost steam. It was part burnout, even though it wasn't like a energy burnout. It was more of like, this is not working for me. And I tried a lot of the tactics, and I've gone over it in a previous recording. I won't, go over my sob story here. I won't break out the world's smallest violin, as my mom used to say. But I tried a lot of different things to get noticed, including crossing media. I'm primarily a writer, of course, but I've done video, I've done podcasts like I'm doing now. I've done animation. I've even started to learn to draw. I've done a lot of different ways to translate my ideas and my stories to the modern audience, which is very visual, very, video. And for me, it did not work. I did not have the type of success that I thought. And so a lot of these podcasts that Barry rails against, I was following them for the longest time. So I left this comment, and I'll just read the comment real quick. It said, felt this hard. Had to pivot my business this year after years of following formulas. Shut down my podcast because I have nothing to talk about but compromise, frustration, and failure. Not exactly a sponsor-worthy story. This made me laugh and think maybe I should start a, quote, failed novelist podcast. And that comment, as of this recording, has garnered 72 likes, a couple of replies. I'm not the only person to feel this way, that we are surrounded by successful people, but when you look around, how many people do you know that have actually lived the dream, or not even lived the dream, like the fantasy of becoming, it's not even famous for a lot of people. A lot of the creators I know, they just want to break even. They want to write a good story. They want to create art, and they would like to not starve doing it. That is I would argue most people online's dream who are actively creating things. That's probably what it is. I know that is for me, something sustainable to where I could do what I enjoy, but then I can also, make a decent living to survive. And that is very hard to do. And so it's the reason, it brings me to the reason why I turned on this recording, what I wanted to talk about today, which is, I had that familiar tug of, oh, now wait a minute. This is, as they say these days, this is signal, right? 72 likes on a random comment. Nobody really knows who I am. And so I started going down and researching this path. I was like, maybe if I relaunch my podcast as Digital Novelist Redux, and I'm just talking about, how I want to be a writer, but because it's so hard to get noticed as a writer, mostly writing fiction, writing original work, not, doing AI stuff or doing fan fiction or whatever, then I, I can't afford to do that. So I have to go back to my day job. I have to do other things to try and make a living, even though what I want to do is write. And so I started planning this out. I started game planning. I went and did research and, okay, well, what should I call it? And I started down the, even got a description going and a relaunch podcast relaunch program and all this other shit. And I was about maybe an hour or two into this. And I said, you see, now this is the fucking problem. You're doing it again. This is exactly what I don't want anymore. I don't want to be making content for content's sake. Content is just it's just one of those endless machines these days. And I thought about it, like that's not really what I want to be known for. I don't want to be known as this kind of, sulky guy who's making this podcast because, he failed, in quotes, right? Because, a commiseration podcast. That's not really what I want to be known for. And then also, I don't know. I just never, and this is one of the reasons why I probably did not have the success that other creators I've seen have had, because once you have a hit, once you have a formula, it's in your best interest these days to stick to it. And when you go off script, one day you're talking about writing, the next day you're talking about code, the next day you're talking about drawing. Even that type of huge kind of split, those are three completely different type of audiences, and modern algorithms don't like that. And I've talked about this before, and you've heard it before. You know how this works these days. So I saw myself doing this, and I hit the brakes hard. I was like, okay, I do not want to do this. And, I thought about it. I was sitting here before I hit record on this, and I was like, should I do the thing? Should I pivot this podcast? And, like, even though using the word pivot makes it seem like, okay, this is going to be another project. This is going to be another, continuous thing. And I just really don't want it to be at this point. And, we have to have these conversations with ourselves these days, because it's so easy to just see the likes and see comments and have people responding favorably to, a common sentiment that a lot of people feel right now online, especially if you're an active creator, whatever your medium, and say, okay, let me try and, take advantage of this, capitalize, strike while the iron's on, whatever, however you want to put it. It's real tempting, because it's like, how else do you, get on, But I think hard about what I want to be known for. And, in a lot of ways, you don't have control over how people see you, how you come off. All you can do is just kind of present yourself to the world, and people are going to think what they think, say what they say. When I was younger, I used to really worry about that. Like, oh, how are they thinking about me? How are they perceiving me? I'm not saying I don't care at all now, but I just know now that I can't control it at all. So it's just best to, just do my thing and be myself. And thus the idea for the podcast, I let it go because I was like, I do not want to even invest time in the effort that it would take to like just create the infrastructure of this new rebrand. New logo, setting up stuff for the podcast, new description, new plan for episodes or whatever. Like I never liked doing that. I mean, I'm just more turn on the mic and talk. Like there's no cuts in between this recording. This is all one take. I'm just sitting here. I wrote. I didn't even write anything down. I was gonna write something down, but I was like, that's gonna take too long. I ain't even gonna do that. So that's really all I wanted to say in this one. How about you? Are you out there? Are you a struggling writer? Struggling. I don't even want to say struggling. Are you a writer? Are you an artist? Are you out there trying to do what it do today? And you know, you run up against these walls. You're fighting shadows. You're fighting the algorithm and getting seen. Then, yeah, I feel you because it's not easy. It's never been easy, but it is not easy. But just like I said in my first recording, don't give up. You gotta keep going. Honestly, that's what I'm reading right now. I'm looking at the history of the comments on my YouTube channel, and somebody said something about like, yeah, just basically don't stop. Don't let this, you know, don't let this kind of cynicism, not the Barry's economics video, but the whole machine that is, because he is right, Barry, in the sense that, yeah, these, podcasts like Diary of a CEO, they have every incentive to fearmonger you, to tell you AI is taking over, that's a lot. If you look at the thumbnails, a lot of them are these sensational, like, oh, world's ending tomorrow. What are you going to do? That type of thing. That seems like over half of the YouTube videos thumbnails that I see. It's just gotten so ridiculous. It's like a damn snake oil market. But and that can really paralyze you to say like, what's the point? I'm never going to get seen. I'm never going to make any type of significant income from my writing, my art, my music, whatever. Just to get you to give up, and then you end up just watching these podcasts and they're long podcasts too. They are long, 2.5, 3 hours, 4 hours, and you're sitting there, smoking the vapors of success, but what are you really building? What are you really doing? I used to do that. No fault, no shame if you do it right now because maybe you need a reset or you're just tired or you don't know what to do. But after a while, it's like that ain't gonna do you no good. You gotta go out and make something. You gotta go out and talk to somebody, help somebody. That's the only way. So I hope this was helpful to you. I'm gonna cut this off because I don't want to spend much more time talking about this stuff. But hang in there and catch you whenever I turn this on again.